Well, hello, everyone. My name is Amy Combe. I am the pastor at St. John's United Methodist Church in Kingman, Arizona. I hope your Sunday has been a wonderful one, that maybe you got a chance to spend time in your place of worship, connecting with God and connecting with your church family, as we did at St. John's earlier today. And if you don't have a church home, we would love for you to check us out, St. John's. Visit our website, and you will be able to hear more about all of the opportunities to attend worship and to serve in this church family. We are going to be on July 9th, day 190. Can you believe it? Day 190. We're going to be reading Isaiah chapter 36, verse through chapter 39. This will conclude the first Isaiah, which we know to be for sure from Isaiah, the son of Amos. Tomorrow we will move into second Isaiah, and believed to be a student of the first Isaiah. So let's go ahead and get into the word, shall we, with chapter 36. And this is Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah, King Sennacherib of Assyria came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. The king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. He stood by the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field, and there came out to him Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, who was in charge of the palace, and Shebna, the secretary, and Joah, son of Asaph, the recorder. The Rabshakeh said to them, "Say to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, on what do you base this reliance of yours? Do you think that mere words are strategy and power for war? On whom then do you now rely, that you have rebelled against me? See, you are relying on Egypt, that broken reed of a staff, which will pierce the hand of anyone who leans on it. Such is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who rely on him. But if you say to me, we rely on the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and altars Hezekiah has removed, saying to Judah and to Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Come now, make a wager with my part to set riders on them. How then can you repulse a single captain among the least of my master's servants when you rely on Egypt for chariots and for their horsemen? Moreover, it is without the Lord that I have come up against this land to destroy it. The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to the Rabshakeh, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it. Do not speak to us in the language of Judah, within the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said, has my master sent me to speak these words to your master and to you, and not to the people sitting on the wall, who are doomed with you to eat their own dung and drink their own urine? Then the Rabshakeh stood and called out in a loud voice in the language of Judah, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Do not let Hezekiah make you rely on the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hands of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Syria, make your peace with me and come out to me. Then every one of you will eat from your own vine and your own fig tree and drink water from your own cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Do not let Hezekiah mislead you by saying, the Lord will deliver us. Has any of the gods of the nations delivered their hand out of the hands of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Have they delivered Samaria out of my hands? who among all the gods of these countries have delivered their countries out of my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? But they were silent and answered not a word, for the king's command was, do not answer him. Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, who was in charge of the palace, and Shebna the secretary, and Joah, son of Asaph the recorder, came to Hezekiah with the clothes torn and told him the words of the Rabshakeh. Chapter 37. Hezekiah consults Isaiah. When King Hezekiah heard it, he tore his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. And he set Eliakim, who was in charge of the palace, and Shebna the secretary, and the senior priests, covered with sackcloth, to the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos. They said to him, thus says Hezekiah, this day is a day of distress, of rebuke, and of disgrace. Children have come to the birth, and there is no strength to bring them forth. It may be that the Lord your God heard the words of Rabshakeh, whom his master the king of Assyria has sent to mock the living God, and will rebuke the words of the Lord your God has heard. Therefore lift up your prayer for the remnant that is left. When the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah, Isaiah said to them, say to your master, thus says the Lord, do not be afraid because of the words that you have heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have reviled me. I myself will put a spirit in him, so that he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land. I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. The Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria fighting against Libnah, for he had heard that the king had left Lachish. Now the king heard concerning King Tirhakah of Cush, he has set out to fight against you. When he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, thus shall you speak to King Hezekiah of Judah. Do not let your God on whom you rely deceive you by promising that Jerusalem will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. See, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all the lands, destroying them utterly. Shall you be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered them, the nations that my predecessors destroyed? Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, the people of Eden who were in Telassar. Where is the king of Hamath, the king of Arpad, the king of Lar, the king of Sepharvaim, Hena or Avah? Hezekiah's prayer. Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read them. Then Hezekiah went to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, saying, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, who are enthroned above the cherubim, you are God, you alone of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see all the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to mock the living God. Truly, O Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste all the nations and their lands, and have hurled their gods into the fire, though they were no gods, but the work of human hands, wood and stone, and so they were destroyed. So now, O Lord our God, save us from his hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone are God. Then Isaiah, son of Amos, sent Hezekiah, saying, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, because you have prayed to me concerning King Sennacherib of Assyria, this is the word that the Lord has spoken concerning him. She despises you. She scorns you, virgin daughter Zion. She tosses her head behind your back, daughter Jerusalem. Whom have you mocked and reviled? Against whom have you raised your voice and haughtily lifted your eyes? against the Holy One of Israel. By your servants you have mocked the Lord, and you have said, with my many chariots I have gone up the heights of the mountains to the far recesses of Lebanon. I felled its tallest cedars and choicest cypresses. I came to its remotest heights, its densest forest. I dug wells and drank waters. I dried up the soles of my feet, all the streams of Egypt. Have you not heard that I determined it long ago? I planned from old days of old, and now I will bring it to pass. You shall make fortified cities crash into heaps of ruins. Will their inhabitants, shorn of strength and dismayed and confounded, they have become like plants of the fields, and like tender grass, like grass on the housetops that is scorched before the east wind. I know you're rising up and you're sitting down. You're going out and you're coming in, and you're raging against me. Because you have raged against me, and your arrogance has come to my ears, I will put my hook in your nose and my bit in your mouth. I will turn you back on your way by which you came. And this shall be a sign for you. This year, eat what grows of itself, and in the second year, what springs from that. Then in the third year, sow, reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. The surviving remnant of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. For from Jerusalem a remnant will go out, and from Mount Zion a band of survivors. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. And thus says the Lord concerning the king of Assyria. He shall not come into the city, shoot an arrow there, come before it with a shield, or cast up a siege ramp against it. By the way that he came, by the way he shall return. He shall not come into this city, said the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it, for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David. Sennacherib's defeat and death. Then the angel of the Lord set out and struck down 185,000 in the camp of the Assyrians. When morning dawned, they were all dead bodies. Then King Sennacherib of Assyria went home and lived at Nineveh. As he was worshiping in the house of his god Nisroch, his sons Adrammelech and Sharezer killed him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Ararat. His son Esarhaddon succeeded him. Chapter 38, Hezekiah's illness. In those days Hezekiah became sick and was at the point of death. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, came to him and said, Thus says the Lord, set your house in order, for you shall die, you shall not recover. Then Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord, Remember, O Lord, I implore you, how I have walked before you in faithfulness with a whole heart, and have done what is good in your sight. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. Then the word of the Lord came to Isaiah. Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus says the Lord, the God of your ancestor David, I have heard your prayer. I have seen your tears. I will add 15 years to your life. I will deliver you and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria and defend this city. This is the sign to you from the Lord, that the Lord will do this thing that he has promised. See, I will make the shadow cast by the declining sun of the dial of Ahaz. Turn back 10 steps. So the sun turned back on the dial, the 10 steps by which it had declined. A writing of King Hezekiah of Judah, after he had been sick and recovered from his sickness. I said in the noontime of my days, I must depart. I am consigned to the gates of Sheol for the rest of the years. I said, I will not see the Lord in this land of the living. I shall look upon mortals no more among the inhabitants of this world. My dwelling is plucked up and removed from me like a shepherd's tent. Like a weaver, I have rolled up my life. He cut me off from the loom. From day to night you bring me to an end. I cry for help until morning. Like a lion, he breaks all my bones. From day to day you bring me to an end. Like a swallow or a crane, I clamor, I moan like a dove. My eyes are wearied with looking upward. O Lord, I'm oppressed. Be my security. But what can I say? For he has spoken to me, and he himself has done it. All my sleep has fled because of the bitterness of my soul. O Lord, by these things people live, and in all these things is the life of my spirit. O restore me to health and make me live. Sure, it was for my welfare that I had great bitterness. But you have held back my life from the pit of destruction, for you have cast all my sins behind your back. For Sheol cannot thank you, death cannot praise you. Those who go down to the pit cannot hope for your faithfulness. The living, they thank you, as do I this day. Fathers, make known to your children your faithfulness. The Lord will save me, and we will sing to string instruments all the days of our lives at the house of the Lord. Now Isaiah had said, let us take a lump of figs and apply it to the boil, so that he may recover. Hezekiah also had said, what is the sign that I shall go up to the house of the Lord? Chapter 39, Envoys from Babylon welcomed. At that time, King Merodach Baladan, son of Baladan of Babylon, sent envoys with letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he heard that he had been sick and had recovered. Hezekiah welcomed him. He showed them his treasure house, the silver storehouses. There was the gold, the spices, the precious oil, his whole armory, all that was found in his house. There was nothing in his house or in all his realm that Hezekiah did not show them. Then the prophet Isaiah came to Hezekiah and said to him, what do these men say? From where do they come to you? Hezekiah said, they have come to me from a far country, from Babylon. He said, what have they seen in your house? Hezekiah answered him, they have seen all that is in my house. There is nothing in my storehouses that I did not show them. Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, hear the words of the Lord of hosts. Days are coming when all that is in your house and that which your ancestors have stored up until this day shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, says the Lord. Some of your own sons who are born to you will be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then Hezekiah said to Isaiah, the word of the Lord that you have spoken is good. For he thought, there will be peace and serenity and security in my day. This is the word of the Lord, the final words of Isaiah, son of Amos.